There's something hauntingly beautiful about standing on the beach in the rain, watching the waves surge and crash against the shore, each one more powerful than the last. The sea roaring as it collides with the wall, seeming almost angry that it can't break through, like a wild beast trying to escape its cage, and in a rage it throws its seaweed up onto the path, like a petulant child throwing its toys out of its pram. And how fitting it is to be in Largs on a day like this, the tail end of Storm Amy. For it was during a storm that one of Scotland's most notable battles was won, the Battle of Largs. And that's not all Largs is famous for. Let me tell you. Hello, today I'm here in Largs, a very wet, windy, that fine rain that just dampens you. The sea's choppy. We're just getting over Storm Amy. I think some of it's still here. And the temperature, that's 286.15 degrees. That's Kelvin. And the reason why I've given you the temperature in Kelvin is because here in Largs is where Kelvin was formed, the temperature scale, by Lord Kelvin, who, although he originally came from Belfast, ended up getting a job in Glasgow. I think it was Glasgow University, and then he ended up down here in Largs, where he formulated the Kelvin scale, the absolute temperature scale. And so although in modern day we would say 13 degrees centigrade or Celsius, in the Kelvin scale that's 286.15. The engineer and physicist Lord Kelvin, real name William Thomson, made his home here in Largs, in the grand residence of Nether Hall. Most people who come to Largs come because it's a seaside town down on the west coast of Scotland. You come down for an ice cream, you might go into Nardini's for a fish tea, or they might be heading down to get the ferry across to Millport, as I did in a previous video way back, I think it was last March. But Largs is much, much more than that. Famous of course for Viking, the famous battle that took place here, that they say halted the Vikings in their tracks. The famous Battle of Largs took place in 1263, but it wasn't a big, mad, full-on battle. King Alexander III used his brains rather than his brawn. We were talking earlier about this is the aftermath of Storm Amy. I showed you some of the debris earlier on. But King Alexander III, he knew a storm was coming, so he stalled the negotiations with the Norsemen. And then the storm came and wrecked a lot of their ships, breaking them all up into small units. And so rather than a big huge battle that took place, it was small skirmishes. And this brought an end to the Norse control of the western Isles of Scotland. When I was a wee boy at primary school, the thing that always stuck in my mind was whenever you were naughty, the headmaster would shout at you, "I'll rattle your ear." Emphasis on the R. Rattle your ear. What's that got to do with Largs? Well, nothing really, but when I read this next fact about Largs, it brought it to my attention. Did you know that during World War II there was a conference here in Largs where they finalised their decision to invade Europe at Normandy? And what was the code name of that conference? Now you've guessed it. Code name Rattle. legendary and eccentric British Army officer, Mad Dog, trained his troops here in the hills of Largs. He was famous for, in a particular battle in Normandy, marching ashore, carrying a broadsword, a clay bag, playing the bagpipes. That must have been some sight to watch and indeed to listen to. When the original parish church was destroyed in the 1800s, the stones were used for a very grim purpose. That was to heighten the walls of the kirk, to prevent body snatchers from stealing the fresh corpses to sell to the medical schools. Here's another fun fact about Largs, this time about the Scottish thistle. Legend says it that a barefoot Norseman was creeping up on the sleeping Scotsman when he stood on a thistle and screamed out in pain once alerting the Scotsman, who woke up out of their slumber and was able to overpower the Norseman. That's why the thistle is known as the flower of Scotland. Soaked to the skin, I had to seek warmth and shelter in the local Wetherspoons and partake of a small refreshment, of course. I was so grateful for a seat beside the nice warm fire as I tucked into my pizza and non-alcoholic Guinness. I know, call myself a true Scotsman. Bring on driverless cars, that's what I say. By the way, I bet not many Wetherspoons has got a view like that out of the window. Suitably warmed up and relatively dry, I decided to venture back outside to a place I always go to. Whenever I finish off a trip to Largs, I like to come down to the marina just for a wee look at the boats before I go home. Millport ferry away in the distance. And if you want to see the video of my trip to Millport on the ferry, click here. Anyway, that's my trip to Largs over. The weather's closing in and I better head up the road. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Bye now.